Stories like this don't happen today. Society is just too advanced for ghosts to get away with murder, right? Well, in the early 19th century, America was a very different place. The frontier stretched wild and woolly across the new nation, packed with pioneers and settlers, carving homes out of the wilderness. But not everyone was there to build. Some profited by buying land from unsuspecting frontiersmen, taking advantage of the boom towns springing up around them. But others think it's the origin story of the Bell Witch, the curse that would stalk John Bell's family for years. Let me clarify, he wouldn't consider himself a hero, but those around him certainly did. It was poor soil, but it was enough. Then came the kicker. See, Lucy's mother, Catherine, was a notorious local gossip. She traveled around the region, especially enjoying stirring up strife between couples. Her favorite saying, "A liar needs a long spoon to stir his pot." But not everyone took kindly to her rumors. And when a young couple named Thomas and Betty Gregory were found murdered, fingers pointed toward Catherine. The theory went that after she spread a rumor about the pair having an affair, Betty told her husband about the affair. Thomas then beat both women to death. When the door swung closed, one of the visitors turned to leave, and that's when they heard the first voice. And when deputies searched Catherine's home, they found blood-stained clothing that matched Betty's and Thomas's blood type. No other evidence existed, but the connection was enough. He drew his gun and waited. But whatever made the noise was nowhere to be seen. Houston visited on September 7, 1818, but he found little wrong. Sure, Bell described the scratches and the knocks, but he could find no physical damage. Days passed and the knocks continued, but the voice remained silent. Once, Bell awoke to find a hand in his face, then yanked back by an invisible force. The youngest daughter, Betsy Bell, suffered the worst. He rushed downstairs and found the ghost standing on the hearth with strands of hair dangling from its fingertips. Bell raised his gun and fired. The ghost turned, revealing itself to be none other than Kate Batts, the one who cursed the land all those years ago. According to family lore, the ghost would grab her by the throat and slam her head against the wall. The ghost cackled, scooped up Betsy, and disappeared up the chimney. That's when the terror became real. She's mine and you can't stop me. Bruises would form, skin would split open, and the ghost would lick them. But wherever they hid, the ghost found them, taunting, grabbing and clawing, until finally, in November 1820, John Bell was found dead in his chair. Instead, he believed the ghost was somehow manipulating her mind, turning her against him. So when Betsy woke up with a bruise in the shape of a heart on her arm, he chastised her for cutting herself in a fit of temper. Hounds barked furiously in the night. Spectral feet pounded up the stairs. And one day, a horse nearly threw its rider off its back as something unseen yanked on its reins. The ghost watched from the corner of the room and chortled. And each night she'd return bearing new bruises, welts, bleeding scratches, and sometimes strange symbols branded onto her flesh. The truth is, nobody knows. What we do know is that the legacy of the Bell Witch lives on, not just in ghost stories, but in the very land. Then it would tell her in a gentle voice, "Don't tell your father." Some claim the Bell Witch never left. Over 200 years have passed, and yet the Bell Witch remains one of the most chilling true hauntings in American history. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We have plenty more scares to go. Not just because of what she did, but because she spoke. She chose her victims. She killed. And worst of all, she might still be watching. So if you ever find yourself in rural Tennessee and you hear a knock at the wall or a whisper in the dark, whatever you do, don't answer it, because it just might be Kate and she hasn't finished what she started. Witnesses flocked to the house, coming to see the Bell Witch for themselves. Some experienced minor attacks. Others suffered convulsions and bloody noses. Some saw shadowy figures dragging them off the bed. Others saw spectral hands pushing them against the wall. Before his death, He had been heard screaming for help, as if his soul was being torn from his body. Another time, he felt the stench of stale urine and a wet sensation in his mouth. Each incident was designed to humiliate and terrify. According to witnesses, the Bell Witch claimed she put a love potion in his drink and poisoned him. Like the doctor, Bell initially chalked it up to stress. But as he prayed, furniture flew across the room and the ghost taunted him, saying, "You can't stop me, old buck." But then the haunting escalated. But the tapping intensified and took on a new sound, more like a cat scratching at the floor. But later, Lucy would claim the ghost also stole eggs from the henhouse, silverware from the cupboard, and even a child's shoe. Nothing valuable, just trinkets. Catherine was hanged. The deed contained a footnote saying if anyone dug up the spring on the property, they'd be cursed by the spirits of Kate Batts. Most dismissed such claims as nonsense, but it's here where stories begin to diverge. Nobody paid much attention to the footnote, and Bell got to work improving the land. His farm thrived, his livestock flourished, and in 1817, his prosperity grew when his son married Lucy Buckner. A Tennessean through and through, Bell was born in North Carolina in 1778, but he spent much of his youth working farms across Tennessee, learning the trade before settling down. They seemed to originate from the corner of the house, coming at first when Bell was alone, but then persisting even when he had guests. The knock wasn't malicious sounding. It was just a knock. And occasionally, someone even built a fortune off cursed land. Or so some say. In the quiet hills of Adams, Tennessee, nestled along the Red River, lived the Bell family. Others claim that Bell was already seeing unexplainable activity. Either way, the scene is set for one of the most famous hauntings in American history. John Bell was a respected farmer, a devout man, a father of 6, and by all accounts, a good neighbor. His land was rich, his family tight-knit, and life was, at least on the surface, peaceful. But in the fall of 1817, when stories began circulating about the Bell Witch, that peace would shatter. The story starts like many rural legends do, with a simple folk tale, and this one's particularly cruel. It goes like this. There was a poor wood gatherer living in the woods who collected sticks and sold them in town. One day, she met a talking rabbit, and it struck a deal with her. If she cut off its head, he'd grant her 3 wishes. Though the rabbit knew the moment he opened his mouth that he'd sealed his fate. When the woman chopped off his head, he instantly vanished into smoke, cursing her as she fled the clearing. Moments later, she heard a whip crack, and then her own flesh began to tear apart until finally she was nothing more than a foul beast. Now, some people believe that story is just that, a story. We are now in the quiet rolling hills of Middle Tennessee, where we meet our hero, John Bell. In 1814, Bell purchased 300 acres of farmland in Adams, Tennessee. The land wasn't rich. It's here where things take a turn for the worse, because as the legend goes, Lucy brought a curse upon the family when she arrived. But now, rumors persisted that Catherine's spirit haunted her family, including Lucy, her mother, which meant, according to some, that Bell's marriage was cursed. Some versions hold that the rumors persisted until late 1817, when Bell's father-in-law, William Buckner, asked him to allow a medium to visit his daughter, hoping to lift any curses. And it begins innocently enough with a knock. At first, these knocks were gentle taps that happened every night. Then one night, while Bell sat on the porch with company, the door opened on its own, and a cold wind blew through the room. "I want no quarter," it said, "but I want to tell you that you will die." The visitor laughed off the comment as a prank, but Bell, unsettled by the sound, decided he'd had enough. That's when Bell called in an expert, a doctor named John A. Houston, who, yes, specialized in treating mental illnesses caused by demon possession. And then the next night, as he slept, Houston heard a scratching noise and a coarse voice cursed the family. One day, Bell caught a catfish in his pond and hung it up to dry. Overnight, the fish vanished. His wife claimed a fox must have gotten in. Then the whispers began, calling Bell and his sons filthy names, commenting on how fat his daughters were. Meanwhile, Bell's friends suggested he use religion to repel the ghost, so he prayed. As time passed, the ghost became bolder, going after Bell's children, pinching them, slapping them, poking them with finger-like talons, and knocking them off their chairs. One night, Bell woke up to find Betsy's hair missing. When Bell saw his opportunity, he shot again, but neither bullet found their mark. Each night, the ghost would drag Betsy out of bed, shaking her violently as if trying to pull her apart. Still, Bell couldn't bring himself to believe that the witch was really hurting his daughter. "Betsy's mine," it screamed. What followed can only be called a full-scale psychic attack. For the family, life became unbearable. They barricaded themselves inside, desperate to escape the torment. The autopsy revealed nothing physically wrong. Bell simply dropped dead of fright. Then the final insult. In the morning, Betsy found a tiny vial beside her father's body containing a dark, smoky liquid. After his death, the family moved to another farm, but the witch stalked them there too. Eventually, the family fled, never to return. In the end, the witch won. So who was the Bell Witch? A curse? A demon? A scorned lover? In 1935, the descendants of John Bell once again reported footsteps, missing items, and fleeting shadows. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.